Hello guys. Just going to check that everything works. Just see, it says live. I'm just gonna give a refresh here so I could check the volume. Check the volume. Okay, I'm just gonna take off my headset. The volume. Okay. Yep. I didn't realize I had it on. Alright. Sorry, I was just trying to tidy up assets as usual. But we will get into where we had left off. So we were working with the menus. I'll switch back to the outliner. And we were working with this guy, I believe, on Sunday. Did a build. We tested the build on that was on Sunday, and Tuesday we left off with this guy here. What we wanted to do is we wanted to not have this person here, but to have our guy. And we had some zombies we had built. We just wanted to go through the menu items. And then we came across load. So I'm just gonna hit play here. Boom, boom, boom. So we want to start with the beginning. We have a simple menu for now that we can build upon. We wanted to hit the start, and we know that we have the start game working. This will load up the map. It'll probably actually take a bit. I probably shouldn't have done that. Unless I had loaded it up early. But I didn't load it up earlier. So it's going to be compiling a ton of shaders and stuff. Darn. And spawning a bunch of stuff. I have to make it more efficient for when you load in. And so that things stream in after you've already loaded in. It's just trying to load up too many things at the beginning once you start at the level. For editor anyway. Oh, actually that's definitely nowhere near as bad as I thought it was going to be. Nowhere near as bad. Still loading things in. I'd prefer to have more like a bed and poor performance because everything's loading in still. You still see compiling shaders because I'm in the editor. Yeah. But yeah, it makes it into the game. We're gonna be working on that in a bit. We want to start off with keeping things simple, and that is the menu. And so when we hit play, the next thing was continuing. And the continue actually kind of works right now, I believe. It will, I didn't have a save, but I have kind of tested it and it kind of works. So the next is the load. And when we hit load, I just don't have any files loaded right now. Right? So we can take a look at that and how it looks like in the system. So this mode specifically is the game mode, the main menu. And the widgets we are looking at are the main menu widget, and how this main menu widget, if you look at the graph, it doesn't look like it controls anything, but what it does is it's like a placeholder that holds different things other than the looks and like locations of things. It holds the widget switcher And in the widget switcher, it passes down information to other things. So it passes down that the active object that starts off is 0. And then in here, it allows us to pass off information. We're passing off that the parent widget switcher is the widget switcher, and that we are going to be looking for these widgets, the single player widget and the credits widget for the main menu design. And for the single player, we are just looking for the load widget and the parent widgets. The multiplayer, we are looking for the credits, which we won't be. We're going to be looking for a browse widget and a host widget. That's what we can go and create today. The UI one, it has its own widgets. It doesn't really require anything other than the fact that the back handler is set. So a lot of these other widgets will also have their back handler set. And what that means is just allows us to go backwards, back to the main menu after we're done with it. And so again, this will have the back handler set. Let's go to the main menu. There's no other real menus that will pop up on this. It's just going to scroll through the credits that are there. This is the single player load screen. And as you see, the single player load screen has load and delete. And we didn't see that there, so you might think that's not implemented correctly. But if we open it up and we go to graph, it's because they're actually not visible unless you actually have them. So on activation, it's going to check if there is a single player save. It's going to clear all saves and then add all the single player saves that there are for the single player load. And then it's going to add them as buttons because we want to be able to click on that save to select it. And then later, once we have them selected and we scroll down, you could either load it or you can delete it, depending on what you want to do after you've had your save. Alright? We still have to, other than just the auto-generated save, we have to still have a save in the menu, like the running. Oh, we got back online there. My internet must not be the greatest right now. I'll just see. That's just our thing. Unreal. I can get rid of this guy here. I was just looking up stuff, and this is just Unreal, and this is just the streaming thing. I just like to have this up here. It's not something that's super needed, but I do like to make sure that I could check if something goes wrong. So I don't really like to get rid of it, and it shouldn't be heavy enough that it's really affecting anything. So pretty much I'm using the minimal of whatever. So the only reason why I'd be lagging or anything like that is just computer problems or bad internet at the time, because my computer has been on for a while, and I do have satellite internet because I cannot get like wired stuff like Bell or Rogers just where I live. Alright, so the next thing we want to kind of look at probably is the design. And the design, this is where we actually have some a little bit of functionality, just kind of move in there, but it also holds how the main menu actually looks. This is what we actually have in it, because if you look here, we have load, for example. So that means we have more classes in this than we do in, if I click here, if I click here where it would normally default to, so if I click on the front widget, it would normally default here. We have more classes in here than we do here because we set up what it looks like in here with the design page, and that's what this is for. And where each button goes is based off of this one, and that's why it's important to have the two separated. And this is just the reason why they have it like this is just for their Unreal's common UI, which allows us to use the gamepad as well as the keyboard and mouse. Because that way, whether you're on the gamepad or whatever, what it does is just pop and pull menu items, as they call it, because there's like a stack, like a deck of cards. And so when you go to a new item, a new menu item, you're putting a new card on the top of the deck. Once you're done with that meta item, sometimes you'll be going to a new item and it's just sticking another card on the top of the deck. But once you're done with that, you're taking that top card off, and once you're done with that, you're taking that top card off, all the way until you get to the bottom card of the deck. So, or like a pile. You can think of it more if that is easier. So yeah. So after this, we have this working. And then we're going into our single player. Think this should have I want to say it should be like this. Add saves. It's going to load all the saves. If click load, load. If click delete, delete. And this will be in this reports back because we want to be able to do this no matter what game level we're in, depending on the type of saves that we're dealing with, if we're having different save systems, or especially with our main character. In different modes, our main character could get like a different item and a different look. So we want our main character's look to transfer no matter what game mode we have. So if the only thing that really transfers between all the game modes is something called the game instance. The game instance is in systems. And the game instance class is here. So what I'm thinking while I was adding all the save load is I'm probably going to have to call that update somewhere. Wherever I am creating a new save, current save data, does this have save data, or does this have, this is a character reference, just has the character reference here. If that's the case, then for now what I would have, this is single player, this is load. On the function update saves, I would get game instance. And then I would get the saves from the game instance. Should be get save names or something. Should have variable sessions, handler, mode, game sessions. This is saving slot. This is dedicated slot states. Odd. So let me see what happens. So on start game, okay, actually we'll go back a second here. On init, so this is when the game opens up, because I do want to get the saving and loading done properly for at least the single player for now, and then when we get into the multiplayer, we'll have our multiplayer saves. And that's what I was kind of hoping to get into today, was multiplayer, but just realized I might have messed something up when I was thinking stuff. So we start up, we boot up the game, and when the game is booted up, the game instance, which travel between all game stuff, initializes. And when it's initializing, it's getting the game settings. So all the settings that we're gonna have, volume and all that stuff like that, it's gonna load from the settings, volumes, like I said, and all that things like that, hardware performance and things. And if it doesn't have it, it's going to create one, a game settings. And then it's going to either set the old game settings that we have, or it's going to create one and then save to set up and make sure that a game setting slot is created. Alright, so we could maybe go back to the game instance, and we can close that. So now that we have our game settings kind of saved, now that we have our game settings kind of saved, we're going to check if we're on a dedicated server or not. If it is true, we're going to check our hardware and update our graphic and volume settings. Oh, sorry, not. We're going to make sure if we're not on a dedicated server, we're going to check our hardware. And this is just going to see what type, like, depend on the person, which we already know at this point because we already did it in the init, that there is a game settings. So save settings, and so we're going to check our save settings exist, which it should already exist because this should never be valid. And it's going to see if we're going to have used benchmark, which by default is false. So somebody might have they don't want to use the basic however the Unreal believes the computer is set up, like how good their machine is, and they might want to set a custom setup. So that will be dependent on that person. And if it is set to true, it's going to run a benchmark. Like if the person doesn't mind and he doesn't want to run it, it'll run a benchmark to see how good the computer is, and after it runs the benchmark, it's going to apply the settings and set the that because it's already set, and it's going to save it in the game settings slot. So we can close that for now. We'll close these for now. We will get back to them. If otherwise, it's going to try to load up the dedicated server settings. Okay, now once that is all initiated, this is just checking for errors, and we have all the game settings stuff. It will boot up our menu item, and on menu we go to new game, right? We go to solo, which will go to the single player, and on the single player we'll get instance get last single player save from the game instance on activation whenever we go to solo mode. That's this mode here. We look at this mode, it boots up the it boots up the single player widget. The single player widget on boot up, it's going to get something from the game instance file called get last single player game save. So we go back to the game instance file, we look up, which is, this is an interface. It's one of the best ways for blueprints to talk to each other, because that way you don't save or create a hard value for an object. So it's going to get last last single player save from this this is probably why it's a good thing I went over this. This is probably a mess up. So I believe single player saves should be solo game saves should be in game save session, not the game settings. Slot name, but it could be just all the saves are in the settings, and the save slot is specifically the save slot is specifically for an individual save. Then you have an array of names in the settings. Yes. So it's going through all the names in the settings, because the settings will have all the names, and we've already ensured that the setting is created. Maybe thought too deep on this, and that's where I got confused. So we'll close this for now. So we're going into our game settings. We have all those same the names, get length, making sure that it's greater than 0, and we're gonna get inventory 0. If it's not greater than 0, we're going to confirm that it's none. There's no game save, and this is actually of type game save. If there is one, we're going to get that slot and load it in the game save slot, and that's how we're getting the last game save. So once we got the last game save, we're going to see that it's valid. If it's not valid, we're going to disable the options to continue and load. So we wouldn't even have those options there if there was no save game available. There is a save game available, so the options is there. If the options is there, we are going to get the first game save of our player host structure and load our character settings. So this has what meshes are variable, whether it's female or not female, and all that stuff. It's setting that, it's loading that, and it's going to load our character. Load that character load. And this is in the player data interface. Player data interface, for example, this character, the menu character, has the player data interface there, and in the player data interface it has event graph. Load that character, and when it loads that character, it'll set it'll get all the meshes visibility. It'll set all the meshes visibility. It'll set whether it's female or male, and then it will set our male body part, female body part if female is true, or a male body part if if female is female is false. And then after we've got that body part set, we'll go through each and every body part that we have, setting the meshes, and then we're going to go through last time setting the visibility, and setting the outfits up to make sure that they all follow the body mesh so the animations work. And then just in case we're adding animations to this guy, and this is just depending if it's female or male, to make sure that the right ones are getting set up. And then we're setting our hair morphs just so the hair morphs work properly. So yeah, that is the character load it up if there is a save. And then from there we're waiting. And so if we hit the start button, so it's starting a fresh game, we're going to see if the person wants to be male or female. We're going to create a new game, player save data, new game, create new save slot. And so go back to the game instance, go here, we hit new game, we do, that's on, new, create new game save, we create a new save game object, set current save, init the save, which is getting the player information, then we are seeing if it's multiplayer or not, and if it's not multiplayer, we're adding our single player save, and we're getting solo slave slots, and we're adding it. So save name, if it's the same, it's going to remove it. It doesn't care if it's false or not. It's going to then insert one at line 0, so the beginning. Save settings, save slot, and save data, self to game slot name. All right. So, when we have to continue or load in this single player, so if we hit continue, fade out, we're going to call game instance continue. On continue, we're getting the last player save, we're loading the current level, and we're just loading the level up. So we're not really applying anything. That's why it doesn't look like much is happening. If it's true, we're just going to throw it over for now. But in reality, what we would want is it to load up our character, whatever our character looks like. We'd pass that over. We'd call something. Maybe our character. It's saving the game slot here. It's setting the current level in it. And when we load the level, that's when we would apply the character changes and stuff like that, or we would have the destination and stuff like that saved. But next is when we hit load, we are activating the widget the load widget. Event solo game save it should be up here. Get single player saves. From and it's creating a button each time. For each item. But yeah, I'm determined that this should be game settings, or maybe settings. I'll type in settings. Game instance. Game instance. We are looking for finding home save settings. So finding as finding yeah, we'd want to get the save settings from this guy probably. But now that I think about that, actually, what am I thinking? We are getting the save settings here. Derp. So we just promote this to variable. Game save names. Yeah, that way we have the game save names there. But get single player game save. So if we go over to the game instance and we go to get single player game saves, should be getting the game saves. But I also didn't like how add multiplayer save, add single player save, how this was just getting the name, and the name should always be almost new. So we get a name called new. I think I missed something. I'm going to walk through it again. Sorry about this, guys, but I just kind of want to make sure things are working. Because it should be, if we open the other one back up, it should be the name plus the time and date, or, yes. So, whatever the slot name is, plus the time and date. So it shouldn't be the same. But I think I'm missing something when I'm passing off information. I think I've thought of it too quickly when I was designing the system. Okay, this is just making sure that our game settings exists. It will exist. We will have the graphics and everything set up. Once our game setting exists, we're going to be calling our menu. Once the menu is up, we have our two menu items. Once this exists, the person's at some point going to click solo player game. They're going to click the solo player game, and from here we're going to get the last player game save. So going here, we should have get last player save game. So it's going to go through here. If it doesn't have this, we wouldn't even, if it's 0, we're going to get nothing. Nothing's going to happen. So let me double check length. So if length is 0, the condition is true. Sorry, is greater than 0. The condition is true. We're going to get the save. Otherwise, if it is 0, then it's false, and we're going to return nothing. There is no saves at all. And so when we hit start game and we go to load, we're now doing create new game save slot. New game. Yeah, this should have been nothing. If there's no valid save, this should be turned off. And we could test, right? We, with the game instance here, we could do the get last save. Get last single player save. And from here, oh, we already have this. We can get save name, and we could actually we could do something like print string and see what we're getting. Print string. And we could temporarily throw this up here. And see what we're getting. Because I think the actual problem is my creation of the buttons. I haven't done that often, and when I try to create buttons in a slot, it never goes right. New game. It's just called new game. So if I go load, there's nothing there. It already popped up because it's on activation. Called new game. Because when the start button was clicked, we went to player, got the player's data, and we did a new game save slot. New game. In here, and that's where we come here. We got new game slot, new game. We initiate a save game with new game, and so this is where our slot name is getting saved. It's getting saved as new game. Remember, this is for the actual single player. So it's not adding the time to the save. I'd like to append that. if I could. And then once we get new save, we add single player save. So solo game save names, which they're all going to be the same. It's going to be the one name. New game, game slot saved itself. Which is going to save all these variables. Whatever variables it has, it saves. It saves itself. Alright. And current data, save data, time. So we can confirm that we have one game slot. All the way up to here, we confirm that we have one game slot. When we hit start, we're just making on continue, or go to events on a start new game, we actually click it. We're just if it's valid, which we know it is, we're just doing the same. We're just getting this. We're just updating the time and saving again. That's it. Or we're updating the time and kind of resetting all the save files, whatever we have for save files. So level, whether it's multiplayer, our actual character data, all that's getting reset. It's all getting reset. But when that gets reset, we now have a new is female kind of thing. So oh, we're setting is female here, then we're getting new player data. Get new player data. It's getting is female here. Okay, and it's getting the current character name and stuff like that. Okay. So we can confirm all that stuff. So the problem is when we go to load, get single player saves, pull out saves, game saves. So if we go back to game instance, get single player saves, get single player game saves, should be getting our settings, all our save names, which we know we should have one, and it should just say new game. If there's no change, it should just say new game. We went through it, it should say new game. And go back to here. For each element, which there's only going to be one element. For each element, there's going to be one element. It's going to cast to game instance, load game slot. Ah, that's blank. I didn't finish this. That's where my saves are going wrong. Game slot. We have the game slot. So it'll be load game save slot. Well, that's this here. Load no, not load level data. There we go. This basic guy I want. So we load game from slot. So we're gonna get this. Do this. We probably have to cast it to our cast to finding home game save. If it works, we're going to give it that and say it's successful. Duplicate this. If it doesn't, that's when we'll do that. So that's where I was messing up. That's why there was no slot. There should have been a slot called new game. And we'll try again. Game. There we go. So we have it. Sweet. Now we're supposed to select it. So we first I want to get rid of that that print string, because that's going to be useless. On activation of single player, I believe it was. Oh, event graph. Duh. There it is. On activation, we are getting our name. If false. If length is equal to 0 is true, collapse it. If false, make it visible. That's visibility for the load button, and it should also be for the delete button. And the length shouldn't be 0. But what's happening is this is never really completing. It's adding child and says once completed, go there. But it's never really completing. But I don't think I need to add this B after the loop. If the loop exists and we already have our statement, then I could break link. I could add this before the loop. So we're just gonna throw this in here. I'm gonna throw this in here. And then we're gonna grab this and bring this down. There we go. So if length is equal to 0, which it shouldn't be, because we are getting a name, it should be equal to 1. But if we're still not getting the visibility on the widgets, we will do greater than. Because what it's saying is that, yeah. So before or after, I think it would have been fine. We just need to change this to a greater than. We're just going to swap these, collapsed and visible. If length is greater than 0, true, make it visible. And if you look, they're right here. Oh man, this whole time. Because we're deleting everything in here. Oh. Oh, wait. Title. So this is solo menu. Oh, nope, we want this in the solo menu. There we go. There we go. At least I got that sorted with. Just a menu mess up. I changed all this for nothing. Visible but not hit testable. Cannot interact with cursor and doesn't affect hit test on. We do want to be able to hit these buttons. Yeah. Yes. So we do want them visible. Now these buttons are buttons I made my own self. System, game mode, main menu, widgets. Now I have the button, I have the date time. I wanted to add the date time to the button. There it is. So let's just tidy this up here. So we get the text color. set text color of hovered. We'll grab the output since it's not being used. Put it here. Get UI, structure, style, hover, and all that stuff. Set it on hover. On unhover. And then on hover, if it's selected, target is same game button widget. Is selected. So we go back to load. Trigger action. It's asking for to save time because I asked for the save. So we have the save, and in the save we have self. We have the time, so we can get the time for the button. But what am I thinking here? Sorry. Oh, input actions. This is not it either, I don't think. This is just what is visible and not. It's, oh no, it's in the load, right? I'm just trying to figure out why it wasn't loading the game when we hit new game. So that's pretty important. So when we hit load for all the children, and the length is greater than 0, is true. Which definitely should be the case, because on button, basic button clicked. For each button, if selected, load game. Is selected is true. I think this is a sloppy way of doing it. Gets the job done, I think. Really, we should be call and notify or something. Like in the button, like we're passing this off, we should be like passing off like the parent widget or something. Like we should be creating a parent. Call it like load widget, and then making that exposed, and then on selection, so event on selected, right? We notify the parent. Or if this, we wanted to keep this the same, so we didn't affect this the different styles and everything like that. What we would do would be on the hovered part, on the unhover, because whether it's keyboard or mouse, or whether it is the gamepad, when you are scrolling down off of that button, so yeah, even when a button is selected, we could call, like, this is where we would call the parent here, and set the parent to give the parent that button. And then we would call the delete. If it was getting deleted or something, we'd call that button, and then we'd call that save. So we wouldn't call we would just, instead of getting the array of buttons, we would just get that button. And call the save off that button. Because this button cast to a save game. Yeah, that looks a lot sloppy. We're creating the button here, loading the game slave, and giving that game save to the button, and added child. I think what I should do to get this working, guys, sorry about that, would be, I don't know, again, sometimes I'm working at this pretty late, so I think to do this, I will just add F2 and I'll call it parent widget. And normally this would actually just have a name, right? So thinking about this and try to keep this as efficient as possible. So it has a name, and you would normally be just setting the name of the widget of the child. And then on selected, you'd be just getting the name of the widget child instead of just getting an entire button and everything like that. It's getting button widget game save. It is called oh, here we go. There's no time. On constructor, get game slot, get time. This says new game, I believe. Probably not enough room. It's the only thing I could think of. Yeah. So if I force it to be wider, it should have the time as well. But the parent widget does it need to be my specific class here, or just a common UI widget? No, I think it needs to be my solo widget right now, because only that's gonna have this this button. So in the solo widget, we'll add variable, and we'll call it game save current selected. Game save current selected game save button. Pretty big name, and it'll be of class game save button. Current selected game save button of class game save button. And yeah, current selected game save button of class game save button. And an in-game save button on selected. So I think it's icon style. Button style. Nope. Set button. Unhovered selected, sorry. And here, parent widget will have to be of type load solo load widget. And again, I could change solo load widget to be just like a load widget and just have a bunch of if and have it take multiplayer. So if multiplayer, otherwise. So it is of type solo widget. We want to check this here. So we're gonna get the parent here. We're gonna say expose on spawn. So we're gonna mark it instant editable because it wants that. And when we go to load widget, we're gonna give it ourselves. So it's gonna be here somewhere now. Yeah, we're gonna refresh this blueprint. There it is, parent widget. We're gonna get reference to self. Parent widget. And it's going to be a back and forth game where in here we're going to get parent widget and set game, and again get reference, get self, and get current reference to self. That way the current widget that we have whatever the current widget is, it's passing off whenever it's selected and unhovered. That hey to the parent, I'm the current selected right now. And so the parent has the current selected widget, so he'll always have the current selected widget. And on continue, he's going to take the current selected widget and get his save game, get game save, so we don't need all these childs, we don't need all this, we don't have to do a cast. We have the right one right off the bat, and we have load game in the game instance. Load game just called load game, which slot is so this is where I must have just got confused again, because for here I would need to call an actual new interface calling. So interfaces, game instance, save load, and so maybe I'm confused here. Load game? Oh, I just didn't initiate it. Then I should have a method called onLoadGame. That will be a part of the load game file. We gotta go to the event graph, and we call on load game. And that has an is multiplayer, and it has save slot name, and that should be just a string. And then it should be just pretty much like continue game. Almost. So we're gonna copy that. So game for slot on load game. I'll paste this here. And we gotta do load game from slot. Load game save slot. Load game save slot. Target is game instance interface. Target is game instance. So I call that branch. If it is multiplayer, it's going to be this. I don't think we need is multiplayer yet. Let's go check if it's valid. Get the current level. And this is what we're going to do is multiplayer. We're just going to load that up. There we go. That wasn't my plan today. I was hoping to do multiplayer today. Sorry about this, guys. But I do want to make sure my menus and stuff are working. What is this? I forgot about something then. Ah. Didn't need this. Don't need this. Yeah. So, take the current selected button and load game. That will cause this is false. It's not. This is the single player mode. Widget. But again, this won't work for... I have to make a new button specifically for the multiplayer widget at this rate. But for now, this would work for single player. Should work. Okay. Because then it'll call load game from the game instance. The game instance has load game. Oh, wow. Keep forgetting stuff. This is where my mind's at. This is what happened. Whoa. Load game, and I could have done this somewhere else too. It's twice. This is why I compile and save and look at stuff. Should load game. There we go. And then in here, we'll get the save load data. I gotta click on this now because I just gotta make sure it's connected at this point. And then it will go through here. And obviously, if it's not valid, it's not going to do anything. If it is valid, it's going to get the current level, set the current level, get the current level, and load it. Okay. So, let's try it out. So it's gray, it's white, it's gray, it's white. I select it. I'm going to quickly grab my controller. Oh, there we go. Stop this for now. Just whoa, got errors. Current game slot. Load game. Access none. Load game. There is a controller. Does it have to be plugged in? Let's try this again. Clear this. I'm curious. Of course my controller stops working. Paired. Oh, there's like an app though. Like a controller app. 1 second here. What was it called? I hate how I don't use these things enough. This is okay, but it's not working. I know it's supposed to work. We tested it multiple times before. Why isn't this working though? Why is there nothing selected? On load, current is blank. So it equals none. And we're creating the widgets here. When we create it, we're giving ourselves to these widgets. But then in these widgets, when button is selected, on custom button is selected, we want to set the current selected button on the widget so we know which one it is. Get get like button text or something, and we could print string. On hover button selected. There we go. Unreal Engine. Oh, I think it's called Dual Sense. No. Can't believe I can't remember what it was called, but we'll have to try mouse and keyboard again. We have the game save there. Oh. Got a little speedy. So it's never getting unhovered. Because this is never getting called. That's why. On hover event, these are all the events. Is it brush style? So I don't think it's getting actual called. Hello? Just make sure it's not like anything else anywhere else. We'll hit some exclamation marks. Unspecified color. I'm thinking this is probably the old way of what was done, and it's no longer being used. And I'll have to yeah, there's no hello at all. So it's not being fired at all. So that is simple. There's a quick and easy way without adding a whole bunch of code. To do that. Rectangle. Anyway, what it'll do, button space selected, I guess. We'll go to the event on unhovered. So we do references, find references. This is on selected, and there's on selected. Find references. Find references, there we go. If selected, that's what we want, right? Let's double check, because this isn't just click, this is on selected. Let's find references. This guy. This on button selected. Alright. Is there an on selected event on selected? Find references. I feel like this is never getting set to true. On selected. Wait, no, there was true here. If event on selected was called. I set it to true. That's redundant. Is selected, is true, then call button selected. But that would never become true. So that would never happen. So then it would sure make itself true, but that's only if it would ever become true, which it doesn't ever happen. It's a circle. So this is never becoming true. On selected. I want to set it to selected. On unhover, do on on hover. Actually, we checked that. That was actual. So on hover, when we do find references, it's on space unhover. On hover. It's a custom vent on hover. Ah. Where the on hover is all one word. Unselected on hover. Would be called, that's space. That's not spaced. Interesting. We would call on unhovered function. This one. So this is calling this one. But where is this coming from? Find references. Nowhere. This is never getting set. Button unselected. So if we go back to here, on event deselected. Unselect button unselected. And we'll see if that works. And that will probably call it for the night, guys. I'm hoping it works. We only got 4 minutes left. But if it does work, we'll just call it the night there with the win. Sucks I couldn't get my controller to work. Oh, no, I did it again. Got 2 inches. Load. Selected. And there's no print strings. I did remove a lot of them, actually, or all of them. Print string. So it should be like true when I'm selecting it. This is all common base button stuff. So if we go back here, yeah, this is this actual selecting of the button stuff. So that's what happened. This is the old stuff before he started using the common widget. And then when using the common widget, none of this stuff was actually used. But really, there just is no selection, so it's just playing myself. On button enabled, disabled. We are creating this button. This is probably on me when I create the button then. Apply alphas is locked, is selectable. Oh man. If true, the button supports being in the selected state. Ugh. Wow. A lot of this stuff is all common widget, all common, like, so we go into this. It's just based off the common button. They just add so many utilities to these things, and it works. We're gonna call that a win, guys. It's loading the game. Got loading working, which means I can get deleting working because it's gonna all work. Yeah, save, load. I get that. Everything's functional. I'm gonna call that a win. But yeah, hopefully this time on what was it, Tuesday, then we'd be starting making sure that the multiplayer buttons and all that stuff works, and we'll get into that, and we'll just slowly work down our way on the menu system. And as you see, whenever I get spare time, I'm also trying to work on extra stuff in the game. Thank you guys so much for coming, and I'll see you guys all next time. For now, ciao.